My mother's from Sweden and my dad was from Morocco. I do serve a lot of alcohol, mixed cocktail, definitely. However, what most people tend to do is they actually take the mirror, they see a problem, they turn it the other way around. That's my experience. Probably for as long as I can remember, since the age of 5, 6, I've always had these mental health issues, like feeling down, depressed, anxiety, things like that. Plus, I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 5, and especially then when one of the bully masters, let's put it that way, one of the guys that get to lead the flock, would come in the room, they would all turn. Used to being picked at bully, they would put bubble guns in my locker so I wouldn't be able everything and run over my feet with their bikes. I was quite big at that time. Some guys started calling me Big Al, and I'm like, what's this about? At all those experiences and the traumas that I experienced and was put through the first 7.5 years plus in school and the kindergarten kind of came up. I was so depressed, everything hit me. I mean, most of my life I've been seeing psychiatrists, and plus I heard about these people being taken, social services coming in, the police taking in people, or just wow, I don't want to experience all of those things, so I was better to keep it to myself. Imagine a balloon of adrenaline going so full it won't explode. It just became like that. It's actually me, because I haven't been given the proper tools to handle all of these things, these emotions, these outbursts, to cope with it. So I didn't really feel like I had someone to come and say, hey, come, let's take a walk. Yeah, it's okay. Let's take some fresh air.
Welcome everyone to another episode of In Conversation with Ishas. Today we have with us a local Isha volunteer from Sweden. We have known him for about 3 to 4 years now, and we also know that he is a single parent, has been battling with mental health issues, is a bartender, and has also coped with his mental health issues with the transformative tools that Sakuru has offered to us. We would like to join him in this conversation and dig a little bit more deeper into how these transformative tools have helped him, how he was previously without these transformative tools, and just get a glimpse of his daily life. Welcome, Alexander Anna.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
How are you, Anna?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
You are our second guest on the podcast series that we have just started. And it feels wonderful to have you here with us, actually, because when we put out this idea that, okay, we are doing a YouTube channel, you were so excited that, wow, this is a podcast. And you really came forward and said that, okay, I can also be. And we really appreciate that, because not many people want to come out and say that, okay, we would be part of the guest as a guest. But it has been wonderful that you came and we could find the time today. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more?
Well, my name is Alexander, and I've been an Isha meditator for the past 4 years now. And I'm a single parent, as you said in the beginning, and I work as a bartender part-time now because I'm doing full-time studies. I'm studying product development at a technical university at the moment.
Hmm.
So I'm basically combining all of those things and incorporating yoga into it.
Maybe where you come from originally.
My origins are from Sweden and from Morocco. My mother's from Sweden and my dad was from Morocco. But I'm raised here in Sweden. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for giving a brief intro about you, Anna. And when you said bar, like your responsibilities includes in this activity, like
You didn't mean the bar?
yes.
Well, I do serve a lot of alcohol in mixed cocktail. Eventual water bem, né? O espanto doses in that bank that evolves usually brought up creativity and freedom in many ways, which has been very satisfying in many ways for me. But also there's a lot of downsides to it. Like usually people work in the line that I do tend to to go to the bars themselves once they finish their shifts. And that's basically where it backfires for a lot of people. And I used to do quite a lot of partying myself before. I stopped doing that a couple of years before I initially found out about Sadhguru and Isha. And it's like been non-existential for me ever since. So for me, it's more like it's never been an issue.
Because when you said that you work in bar, so being non-alcoholic, like when you become a meditator, that so I was really wondering, constantly you're being exposed to alcohol in a way
Yeah.
when you're working with, but but abstaining from that, or completely be away from that in a way, so that's a lot more challenging, right, for someone. For example, when I'm cooking for somebody else, I feel hungry, it's so difficult actually. I can be without food for a day or two also, I can fast. When I don't see the food, it's fine. But when constantly I'm seeing the food, and then it becomes much more challenging for me. It frustrates me sometimes. So in that sense, how you're able to handle that, being in this profession, at the same time, with yoga.
Well, it's more like there's a distance between me and what, the things that I'm preparing, the cocktails and wines and everything. There are occasions where you actually have to actually taste it because the drinks that we prepare, some of them have to be in perfect balance, right? So, but the amounts that you put in yourself are so minimal that you wouldn't notice it. But still, like you say, the taste of it would make you thirsty for having more, right? So maybe you would like to have the whole bottle next, or mix 5 cocktails for yourself. I've been in different workplaces where that is an actual issue with the colleagues that I've had, that they're drinking when they're working. But for me personally, there's not a single mind going on for me as to whether I should make a drink for myself and drink behind the scenes or in the bar or not. It's more like providing a service and doing a job. And there's a clear distinction as where my private consumption goes and where my professional So for me, it's not an issue at all. Actually, the thought doesn't even cross my mind.
That's really wonderful.
Wonderful to know that. But I have a follow-up question actually, because when you're working in the bar, usually it would be open up late nights, and then you have to come back home, and then you have to start with your sadhana. So how do you keep up your sadhana?
Preferably, I'll do the early shifts if possible. Sometimes I do the late shifts, like I did this weekend. So I mean, it has to happen anyways. So it's just a matter of what time of the day. So for example, I went to bed at 4, I got up at 8:30. I had an appointment at 10:30, so took a shower, did some of my sadhana, then I went on about my day, and then when I got back, maybe there were some things that I wanted to do or would have liked to done, but there was still, some of the sadhana was still to be done, right? So I just had to prioritize and make sure that it happened, and then I could go on about doing whatever I wanted. Well, I do want to do the sadhana, so it's not a great burden. It's not what it's about. It's more like you have the empty stomach conditions, and like you say, the kalas, like the timings of the days. So when I'm working late nights, it's more difficult to have more of a like normal day schedule. But usually I'll just compensate with going to bed early the day after, and then I'll still get up early in the morning after that.
So you adjust your schedule so that you still are able to maintain doing your sadhana regular. That's really amazing to see that.
I do it as best I can. Like, for example, if I have school or something that I know I have to do on a certain day, I'll rather postpone that and do some extra the day after to make sure that the sadhana gets done first.
Yeah.
So that's usually the way I cope with it when the schedules are extreme. But yeah, that's usually how I cope with it.
It's really wonderful that the way how you manage, and so you prioritize the way how you prioritize.
Yeah.
I just would like to ask about what is the highest achievement in your bartending?
My highest achievement would be this. I competed 2 times in what would be the equivalent of the Swedish championships, like the SM, like the national championships, something. So I competed 2 times in Bartender of the Year Sweden, and the second time I got placed I got a position at the top 20 in the final. And a couple of months after that, I started working as a bartender in the Grand Hotel Stockholm, and was there for 2 years. So I would say that's my greatest achievements by career-wise within the bartending.
So even in the top 20, you said?
Yeah, that year.
That year. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was challenging as well, because you really push yourselves to the limits.
Have you ever had a customer who has ordered something which was very difficult to create?
Yeah, they're usually like, especially at the Grand Hotel, people would come and order things that you've never heard of. So you would basically just say, okay, just give me 1 minute. And then you'll run like behind the bar, like there's a door, and you go into the staff area, and then you turn off Google. Thumbtacks. But then we had like this huge box with the different cards assorted in by the letter that they were in. So we had recipes like
He has a cheap code.
yeah. But one thing that I think found that about most of my colleagues that I worked with throughout the years, I've been doing this for 13 years now, is when the guests or customers ask you to do something on freehand, like can you just make me something that I like? That's something that people usually go into their comfort zone and just go by a classic recipe, or they get frightened. But that, for me, that's like, I just dive into that, So you get to ask for the flavors, if they like acidic or sweet, if they like it stingy or hot, and then you just kind of tailor something after that palate.
A lot of room for creativity.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I've been loving doing that for so long, when I get into those kind of situations. And the Grand Hotel was a great place for me in that way.
They give you also a lot of freedom, like in that sense.
Yeah, you get to set the limits to yourself, basically.
Okay. So this was before you had a kid?
I had my kid in 2017.
So having a kid, how did that change did it change your career, or what happened? How did you manage?
What changed most was like a lot of my mental things.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I became extremely vulnerable in a sense. Plus, the biggest change that I had was wanting to provide something for my child that maybe no one provided for me, or like,
What you are missing in your childhood.
yeah, no, yeah, to an extent, but also that I wanted to give my child the best opportunities that I could to become to grow up in a good environment, and also like a mental environment in that sense, like to allow her to bloom, to do whatever I could to put good manure into that.
Yes. Could you please name a few, what are such aspects that, like in bringing up a child, you are taking care or which you put efforts in?
Well, I would say that the biggest effort I put into making a good environment for her is actually taking care of myself,
Yeah.
my interiority and my mental environment and all of these aspects, because if I'm well taken care of, then the chances of me being able to take care of someone else are maximized. Because if I don't take care of myself, how am I going to be able to take care of someone else? But it's a controversy, because people usually say that you if you're taking care of yourself first before someone else, you're egocentric and all of these things. But I would say that's not quite true. Like, if you're making sure that you're well taken care of, then you increase your chances of being able to positively impact the environment and people around you.
That's very true. Even the last podcast also we have talked about the emotional intelligence, where it comes like, self-awareness,
Yeah.
self-management, then come, social awareness and social management. So if we are taking care of ourselves, we are aware of our emotions and our every, part of our life, every aspect of our life, then definitely we will be able to be a joyful person, to offer ourselves in the best way possible to everyone that in our surrounding, right?
There's actually a professor, his name is Gabor Mateo. I don't know if you've heard about him. He's also saying that, for example, if you have a child in your home and inside yourself you're resentful to that child will actually be able to read that off you. As opposed to if you're feeling like I'm welcoming you into my home, the child will actually feel those feelings coming from you as well. And something that I've noticed with my daughter is actually that when I'm calmer and more at ease within myself, I notice that it kind of spreads around her as well, because she gets like, and could never imagine that it would have such a huge impact.
That's nice. Really.
So I think that's a fantastic thing to see, that you can easily impact people around you without actively doing something like outward.
That is also something which Sadhguru has also mentioned many times. Like, you don't raise a kid. The kid is actually looking at you and learning everything from you.
Yeah.
So the way you are will easily reflect on the way the kid will grow up into. So that
We just to create the
ambience. Yeah.
um, so that they just naturally bloom, actually.
Yeah.
Even at our home also, like if we want to really correct something with our children, or we want to bring some, uh, good discipline or something in the home, like with the children, like first we start with us, like, so how we can implement that for us, how it is working, so that by just looking at us, they just reflect on, like what we are doing. That's the best way to, inspiring them.
Definitely. However, what most people tend to do is they actually take the mirror, they see a problem, they turn it the other way around. That's my experience. Like, They don't want to see the problem. They don't want to see that they're the ones causing it, or go through the big changes and lifestyle changes. They just like, you're doing this, stop that. You're not doing that, start that.
This is one thing that I really like the most. I just really appreciate the most in Isha is that first, whatever you want to correct or something, you should start the change or the transformation.
From us.
Yeah,
That we have by from within us.
That's quite very true.
So, Anna, you said like you had some mental health issues when we were talking about your bartending. So, would you like to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, definitely. I've been struggling. I'm not having any mental health issues now since a couple of years back.
That's wonderful.
For most part of my life, probably for as long as I can remember, since the age of 5, 6, I've always had these mental health issues, like feeling down, depressed, anxiety, things like that. And even suicidal thoughts came very early on, during maybe probably 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there. And a lot of it has had to do that I was like in school, was bullied by a lot of people, even in kindergarten. I was looking up very different, as I have Moroccan origin as well. I was looking very different compared to how most other children and people were looking where I was raised. Yeah, because where I was growing up, there weren't a lot of
Which part?
people with it's called Astana. So it's if you go by car 1 hour north from Uppsala.
Okay.
So it's in the middle of Sweden. So there weren't a lot of people there having the exotic looks.
Yeah, the mixed population is
Yeah.
not there. I mean, the diversity is not that.
It is more now than before, but still, if you go there now, you won't see that same diversity as you would if you go into a big city.
Stockholm,
Yeah, exactly.
even Uppsala, it's like much of a
Yeah.
urban city wherein you get to see a lot of different cultural different.
But this place was like very remote that time in these regards.
Which we are talking about like before 15, 20 years.
Yeah, those was in the 90s, the end of the 90s, so 1990s.
30 years. So 25 to around.
Yeah, somewhere around 25 years.
Yes. So it's quite.
Yeah. Plus, I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 5, and especially that was during a time where diagnoses weren't accepted the same way as they are now, because now you get like these extra resources in school, hopefully, and there are other changes that you're entitled to. And when I was diagnosed with it, my mom told me she basically got a paper with it, and then the doctor sent us home. And the school didn't really do anything to help out, or nor did like the societies around. It wasn't a lot of changes or adaptations at all, regardless of where I was. So that gave a lot of people another reason to pick at me, like, oh, you're weird or you're strange. Oh, you're this and that.
It would have been so difficult for a child.
Yeah, it was extremely difficult. And this kept going for, well, basically from first day of school till I changed school and moved city to Uppsala. That would have been 8.5 years later. Ooh, yeah, so it kept going every day for that.
But were your parents aware of it? Like, did you talk?
Well, my mom knew about it. My father was never in the picture. The school was aware of it. My family was aware about it. But it kept going anyways.
They couldn't help in any.
Well, the school wouldn't do anything about it. Yeah, we had these meetings. Things would get better for a day, 2, if I was lucky. And then after that, it would just start over and keep going.
Even when you said about when your child is getting diagnosed with ADHD or any diagnosis for that, I also hear from my daughter that in the school stage, even now she has children with a different diagnosis. parents are still not that satisfied with the efforts from the school to accommodate the child's uniqueness or the challenge that they face. So in 25 years, might be some things might have been changed in the system. But effectively speaking, what I really see that what you're saying and from what my daughter is saying,
There's not much of a change.
Well, the big change is that it is accepted, like both in not necessarily in the societies on all levels. That's a whole different thing. But in school, it's like they're legally obliged to provide certain things. But I know this is a huge problem that a lot of parents and unfortunately most children suffers, that they don't get the extra resources and support that they're entitled to. And I know that most of the times it's financial issues. Like it's a financial question. Okay. Because I have a relative, just 2 children with both ADHD and autism. She had to provide, like, these are the laws that entitled my children to have these rights. And then we went all the way up to the principal. And when she provided, like, the book or text or whatever, the principal stepped away and made the necessary changes and adjustments. So, I mean, that's basically how hard you have to, how much effort you have to put into it sometimes. Then it's hard.
All the parents can't afford to go that.
No, of course not. Oh, well, she didn't hire a lawyer or anything. She just started reading the laws herself.
On your own.
Yeah, because her children were struggling a lot. And I know another lady, she had to hire like a person out of her own pocket for her son to be able to go through school.
Because when you say the system has not changed, because this again, like coming back to what Sadhguru says, system, country or nation or city is not really a separate entity. But these all are made of individuals. They all are made of like people like me and you. So as long as like we don't bring change or transformation in the people, the society or the system wouldn't be changing.
No.
Or it will be the same, because that's evident from what we are seeing now, right? Because I also heard from often like her daughter, like in the school, that they are bullying the children, the special children or the children with with some kind of uniqueness or differences. Being different is not a sin or something. Whenever she says that, and she also goes on to protect them. But that
She actually started the anti-bullying club in a
Oh, that's great.
AB's is called.
It's called ADC. So she started the anti-bullying club
Along with her friends.
along with her friends and a few of the teachers involved.
Has it been successful?
It was, I mean,
They were very active,
very active.
bringing awareness.
That's great. And I'm super glad to hear about that.
Yeah.
She started,
We need more of that.
yeah, she started this in the 4th grade and then she pursued it until now, until the 7th or 8th grade. Now she's put the responsibility from the other kids who were coming in to take this up. So the club is still there.
Very actively.
Very
We had presentations and, speaking to children. Many things, maybe we could speak to
There, definitely. One thing that I could mention, like when we're talking about the inner well-being, something that I noticed, especially when I got older, was that a lot of the children that were bullying me were suffering so much inside themselves. Whether it be, a lot of them had like family issues and issues with themselves. Because I had some friends, they would call themselves my friends. We would have fun, play outside of school. But then when one of the bully masters, let's put it that way, one of the guys that get to lead the flock would come in the room, they would all turn. So you could definitely see that on some people as well. They didn't want to be mean or cruel, but
It's not very much, there's not the inner nature to be mean or cruel, but they just try to follow the herd.
Yeah, because there's a lot of saying like kids are so cruel, kids are so mean. They're not mean or cruel. I mean, if you put kids in a healthy environment, they're not going to be acting out in that way. But if you're putting them in an environment where they get to see violence, anxiety, anger, shouting, a lot of drinking, drugs, whatever, I mean, what do you expect will come out? Of course, it's going to be something like that.
Also something that I used to tell our children, that like when some children are acting like this, so definitely the environment that where they come from is not quite healthy. Something must be happening to them there, so they don't know how to vent out that that feelings and what to.
They're just acting instinctively.
And the moment they see someone weaker or different, they try to show that it means that either they are being treated or somebody in their vicinity being treated like that. So we really have to be considerate for them also, like what's happening, why it is happening for them.
The thing to keep in mind with children as well is that they don't necessarily always know what's going on within themselves. I noticed this with my daughter. She will have she will be like feeling down or very angry, but she won't know the reason why. Or she won't be able to put the words on. She'll go, ugh. And just being supportive and just showing that you're present and willing to like comfort or just listen when I was saying something bad, because that'll do a lot for a lot of people, because that way they won't feel like they're ghost or unseen or they're abstract or unnormal because they're feeling in a certain way. I mean, imagine feeling angry and you can't express why. You'll probably feel quite weird yourself. Definitely I would and have done. But if someone's just willing to come and put their hands on my lap or just tap you on the shoulder, give me a hug, or just, do you want to say the simple thing, do you want to talk? I might say no in an angry manner, but definitely I'll feel that someone's observing me and like, wow, someone's actually looking on me. I experienced this when I changed school and city to Uppsala in, I don't know which year it was, but it was in the 7th grade last semester. So I got a new class, new school, moved to a city I'd never been to before. And first day in school was like, how am I gonna survive this? Because I was so used to being picked at, bro. They would put bubble guns in my locker so I wouldn't be able everything and run over my feet with their bikes. And someone came to me, hey, you're the new guy, how are you? I'm like,
Okay. Are you the same place?
what do you want from me? I was like terrified because no one in school ever asked it today, generally, out of kindness, so like, I'm good. And, a lot of people were looking at me because I totally knew these people have been going together in the same class for a long time. Probably since start, or, well, at least longer than I've been seeing now. So for me, it was just awkward. But I went for the next day and the next day and the next day, and they're not messing around with me. I mean, some people were. I was quite big at that time. Some guy started calling me Big Al, and I'm like, what's this about? But that was just his thing to joke with me, but not in an offense manner.
Okay.
So I never experienced that during those 2.5 last years in school. I wasn't bullied a single time. But what happened was that all those experiences and the traumas that I experienced and was put through the first 7.5 years plus in school and the kindergarten kind of came up. So actually during the 8th grade, I wasn't to school more than a couple of days. I was so depressed, everything hit me. It was like, almost like, kind of like getting a post-traumatic stress syndrome. Like going to school is like, reminded me of all these things, and I basically missed out most of the first half of 9th grade. And I had so much suicidal thoughts and depression and anxiety, and I just tried to fit in. I just felt so misplaced. But eventually, I kind of got to a place where I could handle it and started feeling a little bit better. So I actually managed to graduate, and I was there for the last half like the last semester of 9th grade. So I actually got my grades up and completed, like, I don't know what you call this, elementary school?
Gymnasium.
No, not the gymnasium, next school. Exactly. I just finished the gymnasium a couple of, like half a year at high school. Yeah, this is high school. So that was my experience of
During that time, like, if you would have, like, shared this kind of feelings with your parents, like, have you been taken to any counseling? Or
Yeah, I mean, most of my life I've been seeing psychiatrists and doctors occasionally for medications for ADHD and anxiety. Not for anxiety, but for like antidepressants. And but there came a time actually, because when you start seeing, I like the American word shrink, because because for me it had a negative clang to it. Okay. And I could definitely relate to that shrink. Like, it's definitely helpful for a lot of people, definitely. But for me, seen so many of them, because when you would start to like bond is not the right word, but I'm using it because lack of words. When you would start to kind of communicate and feel bond with, you would feel comfortable talking to someone. Like, oh, just so you know, I'm just working this last 2 weeks. Then you'll get someone new. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And and this happens so many times. And a lot of them would just follow the same standard procedure of questions. So basically, I learned the pattern. Okay, if I say this, I don't have to go there once every week. I just have to go once every second week. And like, because you have to start all over again. I mean, I have my journals and they could read it, but it's not the same thing. It's more like static, So I didn't feel a lot of trust going to the psychiatrist after that, and some of them were very like to try to get answers out of me that I didn't really want to provide. Something for very personal, especially regarding my father. That's a subject that I didn't even start talking about until I was probably, I don't know, 23, 24, right before I had my child actually. That was a subject like, don't talk to me about that. But regarding the psychiatrist, that's the way it went. And eventually I just said that I'm feeling fine, despite that I wasn't, because I didn't really want to go there, because there came a point where I actually didn't really reveal how I was feeling and all of these things, because I felt it had no value. Because after a couple of weeks or months or a year at best, I'd have to restart again. And I experienced this right before I had my child. Well, the same year she was born. I felt like this psychiatrist is really helping me out. And like what we're discussing in this forum it's really helping me. And then I found out she was leaving for parental leave. So I'm like, okay. 20 years later, still going. That's kind of how I felt. And then I got a new one. And then after 3 weeks, or 3 times seeing her, I found out she was fired. I'm like, hey, well, are you putting me onto a new one? Because I thought I'll give it another chance. Like, no, we don't have the resources to do that. Oh my God. And then I moved. So I was assigned to a new psychiatry. No, we don't have the resources. And that's the way it went. So I haven't seen a psychiatrist ever since, actually. Okay. And I'm 32 now, and that's 8 years ago. So actually, when I moved to city, me and my daughter's mom separated. And it was right before the pandemic. It was the fall of 2019. And we moved to Uppsala in 2020. So I had a really huge issue getting into a new psychiatry to get my meds and all of these things. But at that time, they wouldn't provide any psychological, like, therapy or anything like that.
Support.
Yeah, I was put on a waiting list, and they said it might take 1.5 to 2 years. I don't know, like, oof. I was on sick leave at that time because I wasn't working, I wasn't studying, just spending time at home basically. And I was thinking to myself, like really thoroughly on, okay, it's 2 years. Either I spend 2 years in this pitch black darkness, or I just try to do something in 2 years, because either way, what they're gonna be discussing to me, like the tools and things, they're still inside here. It's not gonna drop from heaven to me in some kind of unicorn box or whatever. They're still in here, they're still existent. So like, either I try to learn how to use this on my own, or I just wait 2 years and keep going this distressed way. So the choice was quite simple for me.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, during the childhood, like you said, at a very early age, like 5-6 year old itself, like you started experiencing that very lower moments. Like how you managed those situations actually at that time, like you didn't have any tools or anything. So how you managed those situations? How you cope with?
Well, I kind of just put my teeth together and went with it, so to speak. Because I can't recall if I ever expressed my suicidal thoughts to someone in the family. I know that I spoke a little bit about it to my grandma, like, it's pitch black, it's dark, I just want to disappear. But I didn't really, I don't know, it felt so abstract and so kind of insane to me at that point that I didn't really share with anyone, especially not with like the school nurses or psychologists, because this was the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. So as a child, for me, like, you heard about all these insane people. I know there was some time when I heard this was a killer, like a murderer who escaped prison in Sweden, and he had stabbed someone with a knife and killed them, like something like that, and he was running around, and it was like, wow, I don't know if I want to go outside now. So I don't want to be compared to that. That's what's going on in my thought.
Quite normal for any child, right? Even our children also sometimes they talk about a clown, who was out and like in the playground he was coming or something. Like, this was like a myth, or I don't know. Like, but there are some things like when even as a very normal childhood, they have to face this, but they openly talk about it at home or with mother. So they comfort, okay, what it is or how to handle that, and whether it's normal. So this is something.
But what I mean is, when I heard about people that had suicidal thoughts and people who committed suicide, was that they were either psychos, they were cowards, they were out of the ordinary, they were abstract, they were abnormal. And for me, someone running around in the woods stabbing people, it's the same thing. Like, it's the psycho thing. So for me, it was like, okay, I don't want to be, what's it called? Like, if I tell someone, I don't want them to think about me the same way they think about someone like that, because that's the connection that I had. Do you understand what I mean? Plus, I heard about these people being like taken, social services coming in, the police taking in people, just like, wow, I don't want to experience all of those things. So I was better to keep it to myself and just kind of trying to.
Such a huge or heavy thing for a child.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
It was a living hell most days, actually, because there was really nothing I could do about it. Plus, it made my confidence, self-esteem, it got shattered as well, because it kind of became like an affirmation, almost like a mantra. Like, wow, I'm so weird, I'm sick, why am I even thinking this? I would start questioning myself all the time, feeling like I'm a yak weirdo, and that continuously kept growing as well, because I got all the validation I needed to feel that way, right? Because I was bullied every day in school. Called weirdo, all of these things. So for me, that was the confirmation to my own thoughts that I had about myself. So like, okay, I'm a misfit.
I'm sorry to. But you mentioned that you have spoken to your grandmother. But have you also spoken to your mother about this? How much are you full with this?
Well, I think there was a limited amount of resources that my mother had at that time. And I know that the school thing is with the bullying and all of these things. I think probably she didn't know what else to do. I think it came to that point.
She also like the sole breadwinner. Like she has been a sole breadwinner for the family. She has to keep working and
Yeah, I was living a lot with my grandparents.
Okay.
They partially raised me because I probably spent as much time with them as I spent with my mom. So they became like my extra parents. My grandfather and I would have conversations occasionally. He would kind of become like a psychiatrist in some manners, because with the ADHD I would have a lot of these extreme outbursts of anger, intense anger and hatred, where I would just scream and shout, and it's insane. And sometimes I would break things. Just, imagine a balloon of adrenaline going so full it won't explode. It just became like that. And that was also very difficult because it would happen in school, it would happen at home, could happen anywhere. And people would get so afraid of me. And what made me so sad during those moments were like, oh, you made us so scared. Oh, like everything's about how they feel. But I mean, I'm a child. Can you imagine how I feel?
Yes.
Being able to be this angry. Like, imagine how scared I am of myself. I would get so angry I couldn't control myself. And I mean, in that situation, I get to hear about someone else's pity party. Pardon the expression, but that's really how I felt. But I mean, the real victim in that situation is actually me, because I haven't been given the proper tools to handle all of these things, these emotions, these outbursts, to cope with it. And then I get to hear adults crying out about how bad I make them feel or how sad or scared I make them. I mean, it's
adding more and more burden.
Yeah, definitely. So that would also trigger like the emotions of me being a weirdo, being this abnormal, So that's basically how it was looked at, and that's how it was looked at for most of the time for me growing up as well, whether it was in home or in school. So I didn't really feel like I had someone to come and say, hey, come, let's take a walk. Yeah, it's okay. Let's take some fresh air.
Actually, when you said this, just now I remember in today's Sadhguru's message was this, like, everybody is awkward.
Yeah.
Today's message.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it is
So beautiful message.
Yeah, that to be real good.
When I was saying this, everybody is weirdo in other people's eyes. So you will stop thinking that what, like other people are thinking about you. It is such a beautiful insight, actually. So far, we have listened to Alexander Anna about his childhood, how difficult and burdensome it was. So with that, the part 1 is completed. So that is only the part 1. Part 2 and part 3 are there, in which he opens up about how his difficulties become worse and how his mental health become deteriorated and pushed him into crisis mode. And eventually, how he has found Isha and start seeing Sadhguru, how that has transformed his life. So please, without me missing, watch the part 2 and 3. We are looking forward to see you all soon in part 2 and 3. Thank you for watching.
If you find it interesting and if it touched your heart, please feel free to like and comment in the comment section. If in your circle of friends, family or colleagues, if anyone can resonate with Alexander Anna's story of bullying or ADHD, anxiety, depression or even suicidal thoughts, please do share the video with them. This could save somebody's life. If you like our podcast series, please do subscribe to our channel. Your small gestures can go a long way in taking Sadhguru's words and tools to millions in need. We will see you soon in Alexander Anna's part 2 and 3. Till then, take care, bye and namaskaram.
Okay. You'll have to do a lot of editing now. Video and audio. Okay. How was it going until now? Do you feel comfortable? It's like...
It's good. All good.
All the mics and every device is on, right?
Yep.
Do you want to restart?
You can restart because you were doing the conversation, right? Yeah.
You were thinking about the ashram thing.
I was thinking about...
how first time you come to know about Sadhguru or somebody introduced to you, or how you have come to know about Isha or Sadhguru?
Oh, I thought you were just...
Okay.
I thought you were making like
No. Okay.
the script.
No.
Like we did it before.
If you would have liked our video, I'm sure that you will also like this video as well. Don't miss it. Please do watch it.